you ready for us? Okay, all right. So why don't you talk me through your unit and see what we've got here?
Sure.
Okay.
So this unit is a unit that I taught before twice, and I brought it because I wanted to make it more rigorous and kind of look over it. So something different this year is I'm teaching it much earlier in the year. So the standards that I'm addressing are more basic. I'm on number 1 and number 2 in the Common Core.
Okay.
So I'm looking at writing arguments to support claims.
Okay.
The novel the students will be reading is Warriors Don't Cry by Melba Beals. So I started with the summative assessment is they're going to write a persuasive speech as Melba, and they have to be pro or anti-integration in 1957.
Okay.
So it's a lot about pulling the text evidence from the book. There's a lot of articles that they're going to use, and they're going to have to kind of get into the historical context of what really was happening.
And so what's the thinking process that you're using for this one?
So thinking processes, we've got investigation.
The investigation. Now, why did you pick investigation over decision-making, especially since they have to decide pro or con? Why investigation over decision-making?
Because they're going to have to form an opinion, and I thought that having to decide, it's less decision-making because they're going to have to take a stance. And I thought it was more investigative.
So, because you want them to understand persuasive writing, you want them to understand integration and some of the issues in the story. So it's really about developing this whole conceptual understanding of persuasion rather than focusing on making choices about this argument or this support over that argument.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So this is one of the beautiful things about this process, because it could be decision making, it could be investigation. As a teacher, you're not confined by this. As a teacher, you have choices. You can say, this is the angle I want to use to explore this particular standard with this particular material, and you both would be right. If you did decision making, the unit would look totally different.
Right.
You're keeping it with investigation because this is at the beginning of the year. Now, if you were doing this towards the end of the year, you might make it more decision making because they've already developed a conceptual understanding, and so decision-making makes more sense. But I like the fact that you have made this specific to where your kids are. Okay, so talk me through the thinking skills that you're branching out.
Okay, so thinking skills-wise, I actually started with just evaluation and constructing support. Constructing support because they're going to have to go through and dig through kind of the evidence, and then evaluation because it's a contentious topic, it's integration. They're going to have to decide right or wrong, good or bad kind of thing. So they're going to be doing stuff like rafts and creating a group timeline and things that we've done before. And then actually talking with my colleague Astrid and yourself, we came up with also analyzing perspectives.
Right.
Because something that I lacked in this unit before was having them look at author's bias and author's purpose. And this is a memoir written by the woman after her experiences years and years later.
Okay.
So that adds a whole other lens to it that I never addressed before. So actually using the chart that you provided us with the thinking skills helped me kind of form another branch of how I'm going to get to teach them author's bias.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the connection between the thinking skills is that you've looked at the content for each of these thinking skills to say, this content will lead them to this content will lead them to that. Now, did you figure out what you wanted to do for adaptation? I know we talked about contracting or expanding. Have you decided yet, or are you still kind of on the fence about which one?
I decided. I'm also going to consult my co-teacher and see what he says, because he's also super brilliant.
Yeah.
But I think contracting-wise, I'm going to go with the specific character. When you write your speech, you have to write it or your letter to a specific character, because then that gives you parameters.
Okay.
And then to expand it, I'm going to have them do both.
Now, you don't have to do contract and expand. So you can contract or expand.
Right.
So when you and your co-teacher talk about this, make sure that you pick one or the other.
Does that depend on the students too? Might you have an option when you're planning for how to contract and how to expand?
And then let the students choose?
Right.
Sure, you could do that too, but you don't want to give both assignments. So you want your students to choose. I either want to go the contraction route or the expansion route. And then remember, with adaptation, you can use it one of two ways. You can use it to differentiate, which means that some students do the assimilation task and other students do this task simultaneously. Or you can take everybody to adaptation by first we do this and then we revise our letter to this, and everybody does it. So you have that choice, whether, and a lot of it's determined by your timeline, a lot of it's determined by your goals for your kids, but you could just have the adaptation piece for the students who want a little bit more challenge, and then leave and you can give them a choice. So you give them a choice: the assimilation assignment, the contraction assignment, the expansion assignment, or you can do everybody has to do this, and then everybody revises it one of these two ways.
Right, and once we get to this stage where we're kind of in the summative assessment, we're doing our writing conferences, I'll have a pretty good idea if I want to take everybody to the next level, or if I'm going to just give it to some students.
Well, I love what you've done here, and I also love the fact that I can see your teaching style in this. So it's not just that you're forcing yourself into a template. You're using the template to kind of leverage your own teaching style. So that's awesome. I'm really proud of this.
Thank you. I found it powerful too because I've already done this unit and I've used my own sort of putting it here. It wasn't difficult or cumbersome, or it was the thinking that normally happens anyway because it's such a loose framework and it allows for a lot of room for your own thoughts. So I like that.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. You got it.